Hey everybody, Adam Savage in my cave this morning, and this is my new workbench. I am really, there I go. I'm really happy with it. There are several things about it that aren't supplied by any other workbench I have had in the shop. It's low. It's only at about 31 inches of height. It's got a beautiful cutting surface of 1/2 inch UHMW. That's a bearing plastic. I've made it so that I can park up right to it and get my legs underneath it, which is awesome. And I made this as a layout, tracing, drawing, and fabric patterning table. And in the fabric patterning department, there's a feature I have always wanted. I love it when you go to the fabric store and the people in the fabric store can take this hunk of like crumpled fabric that you've brought and carefully lay it out and measure it using the embedded rulers. Now, embedded rulers in the table of someone who sells cloth are an ancient tradition. In Britain, those rulers had a royal mark on them saying that, they were traceable, that they had been inspected, so you weren't getting less fabric than you should. Because unscrupulous vendors could make rulers shorter. A 36-inch ruler could be 34 inches, and you can't tell looking at the whole length. So there was a royal stamp certifying that the ruler that was measuring your goods was real. And I want to embed a ruler into this table. Even our recently passed fabric outlet here, Discount Fabrics here in the Mission District of San Francisco, had these beautiful brass rulers embedded in their tables. Well, I went and looked on eBay and other places, and I can't find embedded brass rulers. So you know how this goes. I'm going to make one. I'm actually going to make a couple. Here's where we're at. I bought a couple of pieces of 1 inch by 1/8 inch brass strip. That is going to be the sole of the ruler. I'm going to try and cut my lines here on the milling machine using an engraving bit. It is possible I'll have to toss that out, but I'm going to do a test cut in a few minutes. And then once I get all the lines marked out here, I'm going to do 16ths. I don't think I need to get more accurate than that. Once I get down to 16ths on the mill, then I come over, to the pantograph mill, where I'm going to build a fixture for this table here. This is the etching table. I'm going to build a fixture for both the etching table and the stylus table so that I can line up numbers and put numbers on my rulers and also, Savage Industries across the middle. I'm going to make some custom Savage Industry rulers. This feels like, I don't know, it feels really exciting to me. So, I believe if the test cut for my engraving bit works great here, what I'm then going to do is I'm going to super glue. I'm going to do a super glue hold down, which means I'm going to tape some masking tape on this and on the back of these. And then I'm going to super glue them together, clamp this piece of aluminum into my mill, and start marking up all of the marking up the rulers. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, I'll get you a camera shot. Those are great. I feel really good about those marks. All right, let's crazy glue some stuff up. I'm using these parallels to space these exactly 1/8 of an inch apart. In marking both of these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ride the engraving bit up the middle, and every increment I'm going to go up and down, and then increment up and down, and then increment up and down. That's the thought. So let's get these. Yeah, there we go. Let's get these glued in. I don't have to get it perfectly straight onto the aluminum, and that's because I'm going to clamp the aluminum down and square the mill up to the brass. That's how that will work. All right, so we're just going to let that set. This is my first time making a CA glue arbor or a CA glue hold down solution. So there we go. Okay, there we have the first inch marked by eighths. I'm cutting eighths, not 16ths. Let's be realistic. I'm cutting fabric on this table. I'm measuring fabric on this table. I'm not measuring to the 16th. But I have 39 more inches to cut. It is 37 more inches to cut. It's a 38-inch ruler. That's a yard plus a bit. Given the table is 40 inches wide, that gives an inch on each side. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of busy work, a lot of cutting right now. Probably a couple of hours at least. Here we go. While I am cutting this ruler, I'm sure there's going to be some comments about why I'm not making it both imperial and metric. Let me address that. I am making my first ruler. I have never made a ruler before. Have you made a ruler? I'm not challenging you. I'm just saying this is my first ruler, and I'm going to bound that problem and make a ruler, not the ruler that satisfies every condition. Don't get me wrong. I'd love an unlimited amount of time, but I don't have that. I think I can get these two rulers done by the end of today, and that is totally sufficient. Do you notice how much brighter it is in here in the middle of the day? I have some ND filter up there, neutral density, that brings the light value down by a predictable amount. And I suspect my ND filter is washed out after a decade and a half of exposure to ultraviolet. I think that's possible. I'm gonna call JCX and order some more ND filter and throw it back up there. I am not gonna make this a metric ruler as well as an imperial ruler. I am trying over the time that I work in here in finer and finer increments to constantly translate between metric and imperial, and I'm getting better and better at that every day. But when I'm working with fabric, I'm not working with centimeters and millimeters. It's just not how I think. And again, in bounding this problem so that I don't have an infinite number of marks to make, I know that's hyperbolic. I'm going to just make an imperial yardstick with a couple of extra inches. So yeah, stop your complaining. Here we go. All right. Ooh, so pretty. Ooh. Take your measure. And every other measurement pun you feel like doing. The two yardsticks are complete with their marks, their markings, yes. And now it is incumbent on me to etch the numbers in. And to do that, well, I'm going to use my pantograph mill here. And in order to make this work, so the pantograph works that there's a tracing template and the cutting board. So I need to mount my ruler here so that I can move each increment. I basically need to make a hold down fixture for the ruler so I can move it 1 inch at a time and etch the numbers that go with that inch. Right here on the milling table, I have got a version of that. This is a channel that fits the mill. I'm going to cut a slot on the table saw to allow this to close up a bit. And I'm also going to mill a couple of hold down fins on this. You'll see. And that, I'll put a mark up the middle, and that should allow me to make my measurement carvings really consistent across both rulers. Okay, I have made a letter holder. I am going to I want to make a mark. I have made a plate to hold my letters. It's got a dovetail that fits the letters. I've got some spacer letters here, these two ends, but Savage Industries Limited. I'm going to etch this into my ruler along with the numbers. Let's go over to the pantograph router. The letters are 600 thousandths, and I'm going to want them to be 0.15 thousandths. That is 1/4. So that is a 4-to-1 ratio. Let us grab four to one. So I want to adjust all three of these scales to 4-to-1. All right, here's a moment of truth. Hey there. I know it's been a few days since I had been working on the ruler. There's a lot of other stuff going on, but I have reached a decision point here. So I made two rulers. One's a practice ruler. And I got a little nervous when I looked at this number 13 here. Yeah, there you can see it. I got to worry that I was working in too small a scale, that 1 to 4 was too small. So I actually bumped up to, wait, where is it? 15, there we go. I cut a 15 here. That one, yeah, there it is. And I like that size much better. It's much more readable. So I'm gonna go with that. It's a 1 to 3. And it's a lot of busy work. I'm going to set up and do 1 through 9 because those are all on a center point. And then for 10 through 36, I'm going to have to figure out the kerning. And that's going to be a little bit more math, but still not that complicated. But yeah, this is some serious busy work here. But we'll get you some glorious close-ups. And look, I'm not going to get this entirely right. And that to me is the point of doing the engraving like this. When you go to the museum and you look at stuff that's like 150 years old, it doesn't look like everything landed within a few microns of where its intended location was. It looks a little spongier than that, and that's what I'm going for. That's why this is such a good addition to the cave. Okay, so we're going to start. Yeah, let's see here. Can I get all the way over? I think I can. Oh. I'm going to have to, oh, wow. How far does this go? We'll go there. All right, let's give this one a shot.
I think you should see the shot. Yeah, there we go.
All right. Let's see if I can do 3. Now we're just going to go to 5. Oh, great. Okay. So I have successfully carved almost all the numbers. I'm missing just a couple, and I messed one up. We're going to deal with that one later. But now it's time for me to carve Savage Industries Limited, which I've got here printed out by my shop assistant Liam in SLS nylon. And we're going to apply that to this. And this is one where I don't need to move this every single time. I just need to lift this stylus and put it down in the next thing, lower this one for each letter. Here's hoping. Yeah. All right, I'm going to get you a good camera shot for that. That's what we mean when we say brass is grippy. Brass is so grippy. That's all right. Oh! Forgot a 0. All right. My ruler is done except for, well, I want to put some black in the numbers. But the main thing that's going to happen with this is that I'm going to embed it in the end of my, I'm going to embed it in the end of my table, but not this end. I realize this is the light end. Do I want to embed it in this side? No, this is the tracing side. That's the measuring side. Okay, hang on. Here we go. Hold on. That's it. Bellissimo. All right. So I'm going to embed this in this end of the table. And we're going to mark, I'm going to route this out, but in order to route it out, I actually need to make a wooden template that guides my router. All right, it's just going to be dusty. So I almost screwed that up. Routing like this, I should have built a whole square to hold it, but frankly, here's what's going on is that like I've got 2 family members who are mildly ill right now, but I'm dealing with it, and by dealing with it, just like supporting them and helping them. But it has occupied enough of my brain that the kind of specific math for getting this right has been a little spongier than it usually is. So I set the first guide as an offset of the blade moving up to the line, and I thought that measurement would be the same when I moved it down one, but of course when I move it down to the bottom, I'm machining on the other side of the bit, which means I have to remove 250 thousandths from my measurement, blah, blah, blah. Always double check before you make your cuts. And so I'm about to, everything's looking great here. It's all like embedding nicely and looking like it's going to be great. I just have to figure out the exact measurement for the distance from this edge to this edge for the cutting. And that's what I'm going to do now. So it goes from here to here. Let's remove that. I know I could do math. I prefer to physically measure. That is where I want to be. So that will cut from there to there. Yes, great. And loosen. Loosen. This is a chunk that represents the exact width of my yardstick. That should be it. So we'll do a little tiny test cut and just double check that it actually functions. I messed up just a little bit, but not so much as to constern me. That is great. Great. Yeah. Okay, good. Now, okay. I do not need these anymore. What? I just wanted to throw things. That's all. Is that so bad? Okay. I'm just gonna soften the edges here a little bit. Okay, so I have one thing to do before I screw this down, and that is I messed up as I was going through the numbers. 31, 32, 33, 34, 34, 36. Oh, what about that? Okay, I have to fix that, and that's what I'm going to do right now.
All right. I thought I needed to chamfer the edges, but that actually harmed me here because I didn't quite fill in that little semicircle. That's my first time attempting to fill a brass plug. I feel pretty good about it. It's not perfect, but it doesn't need to be. Let's etch that 34 again. Let's fill that little blank space. Actually, I'm going to just try sanding a little bit more. I'm going to say that's good enough. Oh, whoops. Okay, it's a little heavy-handed, but I got it. We are almost done. I just did this whole lovely piece to camera. Wasn't running. Here's what the piece was. I said, maybe I've talked about this in the beginning of the video, but the reality is that I wanted, is that back in the day, these rulers were certified by the government or the crown. And that's how you knew you weren't being cheated. And I wanted to certify this one. So I have this beautiful hardened steel stamp with my signature on it. And I thought, I'm going to give my signature to this ruler. And then while I wasn't recording, I went and I put my signature upside down on the ruler. You lapse your attention for a second. That's fine. It's funny. Color it in. Let's put it in. Let's sign the back also, just let everyone know. I had another part of this build that I was gonna do, but I'm laughing because of how many different ways I have messed this thing up. Look, doing tedious production work requires a ridiculous amount of concentration. The fact that of the 37 integers that I etched into this ruler that I only got one wrong, I'm pleased with that. And I'm happy with the repair. I got my click spring on and took a brass hole and filled it with brass and hammered it, mushroomed it, sanded it using the masking tape trick, which works fantastically. If you don't know ClickSpring, go to ClickSpring, the YouTube channel ClickSpring. You're welcome. Dude, I've got my certified brass ruler in the table, in my workbench, in my new bench. I'm super, super happy. We're going to leave it there for now. The second mod I want to do, I'll do that later on this summer. I really appreciate all of the comments in the video about the workbench in the first video. We'll include a link in the description. I just thank you for all the different elaborations you had on what benches work for you. And yeah, to the several people that suggested that I could move my T-square line to the inside rather than the outside, get some more leg room. You were right. I noticed that, and then the video went up and I was reading the comments. I'm like, yeah, they got it. They called that. So thank you. This workbench, while always a work in progress, is now, I'd say, done for its first pass. I've already said that like 3 times in this closer. Thanks everyone for joining me. I will see you next time. Adam out. Coda, I have one more code. I have one more thing to point out. You might have watched me using this tool and wondered about it. Yes, this is a cordless DeWalt router that runs off of their FlexiVolt system. And I've talked on the channel in the past about how much I hate routers. They require a lot of setup. They require math. They bug me. They're terrifying with that tool out in the world. Despite that, they are a necessary tool, a necessary part of my arsenal. And there's some things they can do that nothing else quite can do. And so, I have a few. I have 3 different routers. And every now and then, because I've got the DeWalt system, I just go online and look at new things DeWalt has made to be powered by these. And that's how I found the router. I was like, what? A router this big, like the size of a trim router? So it's got a 1/4 inch shaft. Only take a few of my bits because almost all of my router bits are 1/2 inch. I love this thing. We will include a link in the description. If you've got the 20-volt system, you can buy just the tool and it's pretty reasonable. I love this kind of thing. I find that frequently one of the things I most don't like about routers is the cord that you have to manage as you're doing routing stuff. No cord. Cord's been cut. So I just wanted you to know this is my favorite tool of the build that I just did. Yeah. Okay. Actually, no. The favorite tool is the workbench, but the favorite tool to build a workbench, this tool. Yeah. Okay. Back to being done with the video.